Welcome to Manor Solutions Connect Symposium. Thank you for attending today's Improved Financial Management using Sage Intacct Dashboard session today. I will be your host, Caitlin Watts, and your presenter today will be Mike Fox. Mike's an avid Intacct promoter who recently joined the Manor team as a senior consultant. Mike has not only implemented Intacct as a consultant, but as a user as well. His opinions and ideas are sought after by our clients because he brings a perspective as a CFO and controller. Wes is also joining us today. He's a panelist. Within the past 5 years as an Intacct superstar, Wes has supported, done custom work, and implemented with all of our Intacct clients. He is sought after by Intacct to present solutions to other partners, and we are very proud of him as a lead Intacct consultant. At this time, I am going to hand over the control to Mike Fox, and he will go ahead and get everything started.
Katie, thank you very much, and welcome everyone. So today we will examine how to use Sage Intacct dashboards. I know that many of you are using some facets of the dashboard. My goal today is to kind of walk you through all of the various components of a dashboard. So let's get started. A dashboard is a one-step view that's designed using, what you should do is designed to use the information that is most relevant to your company or to the roles of the users within the company. Dashboards are very, very flexible. They're like I said earlier, they're multifaceted, and you can layer dashboards upon dashboards. It's really a powerful way to get started, to get your day started when you log in to land on a dashboard page, and I'll show you that as well. There's a few things I want to discuss with you. There some of the terminology, components, groups, filters, access, and then the various types of the components. I'm going to go through all of these with the exception of Collaborate, because my demo database I discovered was not configured with Collaborate, and I didn't discover that until too late. But once we kind of get in through these, I think Collaborate will just be just another dashboard component that you will feel comfortable with adding yourself. Building a dashboard, you can just go into a dashboard and just start throwing stuff against it, like on a whiteboard, and making, I wonder what this looks like, or I wonder what that'll look like. Oh, I want to have this on there. I want to have that on there. And that's fine, but it can become really cluttered and it can kind of lose its focus. So we suggest that you spend a little bit of time in thinking about the design, what it is that you want it dashboard to look like. And I think as we go through some of this today, that will become more apparent how to do that. Then creating a dashboard, you can create a dashboard from scratch. You can clone an existing dashboard, and there's a dashboard library. What we're going to do today is we are going to use, we'll just create one from scratch. We'll just walk through it and we'll just add components to it. And hopefully by the end, you'll see how it all works. So finding where, navigating to add a dashboard is pretty simple. It's in the dashboards application. If you don't see this on your applications panel, it must mean that you're not subscribed to it, don't have permission to it. But when it does appear, adding a dashboard is as simple as just clicking the plus sign, just as you do everything else in Intacct that same way, adding any entry. There's three basic steps to creating the initial dashboard properties. There's appearance, filters, and permission. We'll go through those. And I'm not going to spend any time on this because we're actually going to go through it. But a couple things I do want to point out is that it's just really important when you're setting up the dashboard to know that you can change these from within the dashboard. You don't have to exit the dashboard to go back. If you set it up with 2 columns instead of 3, if you set it up with 3 and only want 2, if you decide that you want to make this dashboard a part of a dashboard group, you can do all of that from within the dashboard. You do not have to get out. So just keep that tucked away. So I'm going to cruise right through here. Let's just go to the demo because I feel like I lost a couple of minutes, and I'm going to show you how things get started here. All right. So let's go into this is a demo company and go to dashboards, click on the plus, and we're going to create a new dashboard. So let's call this dashboard, select the number of columns. I recommend starting out with 2. You can add 3 columns on the fly or reduce it down to 1 if you want. Flexible width column. So this means basically that if you have for a 2-column dashboard, the column 1 will be, if you select flexible width column left, that means that the column on the left will expand to the right to accommodate a report that's wider. If you select a 2-column report, you select it right, the column on the right will expand to accommodate a wider report. If you're in a 3-column setting and you select the middle column will be the one that expands, and it'll shove the left and right columns, off to the left and to the right. So I'm going to leave this as a 2-column, and I'm going to have all the column widths flexible. This color scale allows you to change the color of the background color of the dashboard. I'm going to leave it as gray, and we'll change it. We'll change it later. Excuse me, just a moment. Now, this is really important. I like to build these as I'm going. So if I've given some thought to this one, and I'm going to show you 2 dashboards. I'm going to make them part of one dashboard group. So I'm going to create a group right now. And I'll just call it Mainer dashboards. So that's really fast and simple. Then for filters, this is really, really nice. So depending upon the type of dashboard that you're going to create, you can select these filters. These will appear at the top of the dashboard. And when used, they can filter everything that's in the dashboard. So if you have a dashboard that has a performance card for cash on hand year to date, and you have a dashboard, and you have a dashboard that's a financial a component in the dashboard that's a financial report that is a year to date type report. So with those 2 components in the dashboard, both year to date components, and you have the as of date showing up as a filter, the contents of the performance card and the financial report will change as the filter changes. So just to be aware of that. And that's a nice handy filter. And you can select several of these locations. When you have a location in a dashboard, again, you can also filter the contents of the dashboard based on changes to the location. So we'll just select a couple of those. So that's pretty easy. And then finally, the permissions. So this is pretty easy to set up as well. With permissions, you can grant permission to a group or to a user. You can deny everyone in a group except maybe 2 users in the group, or you could just allow access to a specific individual, like Lisa. Deny everyone but Lisa. But for this, I'm going to just keep it wide open and allow everyone. Why not? Everyone can see it. It's not top secret. So let's save that. So now I have my Mainer dashboard set up here. And let's take a look at the components. I think I'm going to go in to it really quick though. I'll just leave that there for right now. Okay. So we've got all these other dashboards that are listed, but we're interested in building one from scratch, and we started with this one. So let's look at view components. Now there's nothing in this dashboard. It's just totally an empty palette, and you'll notice that it's gray because that's the color that I selected. So here are the 3 filters that we selected, and I'm going to scroll through each of these. This plus sign is what we'll use to add components to this dashboard. And earlier I told you that you could actually get into the dashboard properties from within the dashboard. By clicking on that gear, you can change anything on the fly. It's very, very helpful. Okay, so the question is, if you get access to everyone, but they have their personal user access restricted to specific departments, et cetera, would that impede their ability to see what you have put on the dashboard? I believe the answer is yes, it will. And if Wes is on the phone and he has a different answer, he can just jump in. But I do believe that if you have restrictions, set up user-specific restrictions, that even though the dashboard allows access through the dashboard to that department, that user's personal restrictions would supersede any of the dashboard permissions that were given. This is the icon that you would use if you wanted to clone a dashboard. So when we looked at that dashboard list, and you saw a dashboard that you wanted to clone, you could just go in there and view components and clone it. So let's go through the list and let's start adding some things. So there are several types of components to add to a dashboard, and let's take a moment to kind of walk through them. There's chart, and this is a financial chart. There's general, I'll click on this in a moment. Performance card, we talked about that a second ago. These are just nice little tiles that pop up on the dashboard, and they're based on account group. There's record, and record is something like, think of like an AP bill approval or a bill approval screen. That's what a record is, and we'll throw one of those on there later, excuse me. And then report. I didn't mean to click on that. All the way out of there, I'm sorry. And report, and these are financial reports. They could be memorized reports like a memorized vendor aging report, and it can also be memorized custom reports that were created, and smart links. And we'll try to look at those as well. Additionally, there would be collaboration on here or collaborate on here, but as I said earlier, this is not configured for it. So I want to look at general. And when I clicked on general, now I've got a drop-down box offered for that component. It starts at the very first one. So there's a calendar, there's all these different things that you can add to it. So let's add this one called main shortcuts. And let's make the height of this 400, not 150, and click save. And this is a 2-column report. So I've got it on, it automatically, plops down where it feels it can fit. Let's add another one, another general. Oops, I didn't need to click there. Here we go. And let's put in applications. And let's make this one 300. And let's move this one here. So now we have hyperlinks for on the dashboard for all of the applications, similar to that. And we also have shortcuts to specific areas within Intacct. These are Intacct driven. And we can see that this one is cut off. So in these dashboard components, when you see them within the actual dashboard on your colored field, your gray mat or your green, whatever you select, there will be some icons that are offered. This one is the gear icon, and I can go into, when I select that, it will open it up, and I'm going to make this height 500, so it's not truncated at the bottom. Now it shows it all. We could probably, make it 450 or whatever, but I think you get my point. Let's add another one. Let's add a calendar. And at 200. So I don't really like the way that looks. It looks a little too disjointed. So I'm going to make this a 3-column dashboard. So I clicked on the gear at the top, not the one within the dashboard. And I'm going to switch this to 3 and save it. And I'm going to move this one here, this one in the middle. And there we go. So we could call this one, let's change the name of this. Let's call this one General. Click Save there. Okay, so we just created our first dashboard. It was very simple. And I think I have to refresh this. Let me refresh my screen. And now I've got, my group name is off. I should only say Maynard dashboards there, but like this one here. But now you see I've got a group called Maynard dashboards, and within Maynard dashboards, I have a dashboard that's called General Lists. So that has, just some basic, one of the basic components of Intacct in it. So now let's create a new dashboard. Let's call this one Financial Reports, Financial Information. We'll start with a 2-column dashboard, and let's make it. Does anyone have a color preference out there? Go ahead and type it in. I like green. We'll save that, or we'll go in and put the filters in. We'll put as of date. And let's just put location in for now. And permissions, let's allow everyone. And save it. So now I have this financial info dashboard out here, but it's just hanging by itself, because I don't think I assigned it to a group. So let's take care of that little bit of business first. Again, I'm just going to edit the dashboard properties from within the dashboard, and I'm going to select my group, and I'm going to click Save. So now again, the filters that we selected are appearing at the top, and we have the same, add a component, access the dashboard settings, clone a dashboard, or print it. And also I want to point out that now that I've got a second dashboard in this group, you see this little drop down that shows up. So now I can toggle between the financial info dashboard, which currently has nothing on it, and the general list dashboard, and back. And this holds true for, so I could add layer after layer on here if I wanted to. And I really recommend using this if you find that you're starting to get dashboards that have, a lot of different components on them that don't really relate to each other. So let's say that you're operating a big multi-entity company, and I know we've got some people on the call or on the webinar that do this, and you want to look at cash on hand, and you want to basically look at it on a performance card, and you want to set it up by location so that you have on this dashboard, that's all you have are cash on hand related reports and components. Well, you could create a cash on hand dashboard and make it part of a group so that it would appear on this list. And then let's say that you had like some operating KPIs that also were like specific to locations that you wanted on its own dashboard and not commingled with your cash on hand one. So I hope you get the point there. All right, so let's add some components to this dashboard. So we've already looked at the general components. Let's add one of the most popular components. Let's add a performance card. And let's look at cash on hand. Now, performance cards also have an appearance tab and a filters tab. And as do most of the components have similar capabilities, but the user interface will be different depending on which component we're selecting. This is pretty easy. Performance cards are all account group based. That's all that's offered. So we're looking at cash on hand, and let's use a cash on hand account group. Let's see what our offer. I'm going to type cash in here and see what we have. Let's pick cash and cash equivalents just for the sake of this. And because performance cards measure the performance of the current period that you select to a prior period, the prior period comparison is going to be based on what you select as the reporting period here. So let's look at current year to date for this one. And now the comparison will be prior year to date to this. And it'll also be based on the account group and everything. So you can show the period difference, or you can show the percentage change. Depends on what you're looking for. You can use icons in here, arrows, to basically help you visualize whether things are good or bad. An arrow with green means that things are good. If an arrow, if things are bad, negative, if things went, the wrong way, expenses went up, revenue went down, this would be red. And you can assign it within the dashboard to a group. And this allows you then, if we put all of these performance cards in a performance cards group within this dashboard, we can move them all together instead of one at a time. So we've done everything there. Now let's flip over to the filters page. This is really crucial. A lot of people don't understand why their dashboards are not changing when they change a dashboard level filter, or vice versa, or the other way. I don't want it to change when I change the filter. I want it to remain static. This is what controls that. So let's say that I'm creating a cash on hand. I've got 4 locations and I create a tile for each one. And so therefore, if I have a location filter at the top of my dashboard that I switch to one of the locations, I don't want each one of those location specific performance cards to change. So as I'm building it, I would just go in here and click on prevent. So if I change the filter at the top of the dashboard to a different location, this particular performance cards location would remain unchanged. But let's leave it wide open for now. In addition to allowing the top of the dashboard filtering to affect the contents of the dashboard, you can also use filters within this performance card, within this component, to specify which, what dimension you want to be represented in the performance card, or as we get into some of the other components, there are these similar filters in place. So if I wanted a specific location for this one, I could pick specific location and then pick that location. And that would basically mean that whatever is on that performance card is unique to that location. And if I had this to prevent, it would never change. If I selected a specific location, but I had dashboard filtering to allow, let's say if it was supposed to be location 100, but at the top of the dashboard, I picked 200, well, this thing would change because the top level of the dashboard's filtering will supersede this unless this is selected. So anyway, so let's just click save. And now we have our first component on the dashboard. And like everything in Excel, or I'm sorry, in Intacct, you can use a hyperlink and drill down into the details. A minute while we're on here. So within some of these dashboard components, as I mentioned before, you'll see some of these icons pop up. If you want to get rid of this from the dashboard, you would select the trash can. If you wanted to go back into what we just left, you would select the gear. If you want to just refresh this component, you can. And if you want to change the filter, I'm not sure why that's not working. Let me see what's going on with that. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. This indicates that This indicates that the allow filtering from the top. So let's demonstrate that real quick. So now this is unfiltered, it's everybody. So if I switch to location 100 and apply it, it's going to change. Now we're just looking at location 100. And if I change the date and apply it, now we're looking at, you know, this date range. So that's really nice. And if you're, when you have filters populated, you can just clear them that way. So let's add another component very quickly. Oops. Let's add total expense. And I'm assuming we have an account group called total expense. Let's leave this one at current month just so we can save some time. And okay, and for the filters, let's do this. Let's prevent and let's set the location to a specific location, and I'll demonstrate what I talked about earlier. We'll use Boston. It doesn't look like Boston had any information, anything there, and I believe that was like 110, location 110. Let's change the date to today and apply it. Still don't have anything, but maybe I just picked a dud. So let me go back in here and pick another. Another location from the filter. Let's use a top level entity there. That is puzzling. See if that does it. I know I've got total expenses in there. Well, it's only down like 49 cents from the prior year. So this was just for one. This was just for one location. I had it set up for 100. It will not change when I select 200. You see how that just remained the same? So hopefully I didn't confuse anybody with that. So just to summarize, when you're creating any of these components, you can elect to filter a component from inside the component and disallow dashboard level filtering, or you can allow filtering, and I want to show you where that's really applicable as well. So let's move away from performance cards. Let's go into another component. Let's add the chart. So any chart that you add is going to come from, sorry about that, it's going to come from a financial chart that was created in the financial report section. So you can see that the chart type right here is financial chart, or it can be a memorized chart that I created maybe from a custom report, or perhaps from a vendor aging report, because if you've ever clicked on the vendor aging, it always has a caret that allows you to do a graph or a report. So let's see what we have in our in any of the already built financial charts. So we've got a whole list of them here. And let's see what we have. Let's see. Let's try this one, cash balance by week. So what we've done is in this component, we're pulling in out of the Intacct Report Center, if you will, this financial graph or chart that was already created. And you can give it its own line for the component title. And you can select the type of chart style, line or column. For the legend, you can change how not the legend, how the X label appears. You can add a legend at the bottom or the right, and you can change the height as well with anything. You can allow or disallow filtering, and you can also show collapse. Let's do that so I can just show you that before we move on. So now we're adding this component to the chart or to the dashboard, and because I selected collapse, it just shows up this way. And sometimes that's helpful if you're putting a lot of things on your dashboard and you don't always want to see them unless you click on them. So this doesn't have a lot of activity, but let's say you had 50 or 20 weeks, it would show 20 weeks of cash balance by week. So that's really nice. And then you can toggle between the actual graph and you can see the actual data. And you can also click into the details behind it. Let's add another component, and let's go back into chart. Now let's say you didn't find anything that was created that you wanted. So you can actually create a financial chart right from the dashboard. And so this takes you right into the report center's, financial chart, add a chart. So you can go through and create a chart. So let's create one, reporting periods. Let's do the groups. Select the time periods. This is based on actual. Let's see. Let's do it this way. I'm switching gears here. I want to do it by reporting periods because I want this to be an x-axis with time, the interval of time on the x-axis. And I want to expand it into months. And one period. It retained the account group that I had selected, but if I wanted to change it, I could just go in and select a different account group. So let's just look at revenue over time. Just give it a title. This title is for the report center title, not the dashboard component title. And you can change. You can make this as a specific date so that it always just reports from that date, and you can change and add, or you can revise it to include filters. So if you wanted it to be for a specific department, a group of departments or locations or whatever, you could do that there as well. So it's pretty easy to do. I'm going to make this larger. Over here, you can set the style. Oh, I've got to put a name in. You can click on which style that you want, and you can preview it. It looks kind of funky. Do a stack. No, can't do it that way. You can do area. So let's just build a basic line chart here. Let's actually make it a column. It looks better. And let's save it. Takes us back to the component properties, and now you see that we have that in there. If I go into another, if I go to create another chart, this revenue chart now will show up in that list that's pulling from the report center. So that's really nice that you can put that you can create it on the fly from within dashboards. Let's make that diagonal and allow dashboard filtering, and let's click save. So I didn't collapse this one, and now that, so I could move this one over here if I wanted to. And if I preferred, I could just go in and deselect show collapsed and save it. I'd already had it collapsed here the next time I do that. So now we've got two charts on the dashboard, two performance cards on the dashboard. We already looked at the general because it's on a different sheet. So now, we've got those, these two still there. Let's add another component. Let's move to report. Identical to the graphs, the report will also allow you to pick a report out of the report center, financial reports, or a memorized report, whether it's a general ledger report, a vendor aging report, or a memorized custom report. You can pick that. So let's pick financial reports. I'm going to make this larger because that drop down doesn't appear right when the box is smaller. And again, so these are all the reports that show up when you navigate to the report center, financial reports. These are all the reports that are listed. Let's snag a P&L report. Let's see, let's just do a condensed report. And this is the title that would show up on the component, but let's just call it P&L summary. Allow dashboard filtering. About this snapshot versus live view, when you create a snapshot of the report, when you sign into the dashboard, it's just going to grab that report and it's going to have it on there. And as you change filters and stuff, it's not going to change anything unless you actually go in and change it yourself by editing the report. So I recommend using live until you get comfortable with understanding the difference between the two, just so you're not looking at data that you thought should have changed but hadn't changed. So now I've got my P&L summary. There's no data. So let's change. Let's clear this filter. See if that does anything. It gave me a little bit. Let's change the date because this is a demo database, so it's not current. Let's just change the date to that date. Now, all the dashboard components, this one, allow filtering. This one does not. And you remember, it was 49 cents down from the previous period. It was 0. So we know that works. Now we've got a P&L summary, revenue chart, cash balance. And when you notice when I changed the date back to a period that had more data in it, how these this weekly cash balance filled in, this revenue chart, filled in. So that's really nice. Again, I want to show you this feature that's really powerful and Intacct. When you're in the dashboard and you're adding a report and you look around, you don't see it, you can just create one on the fly. I don't think we have time to do that. I think if you know how to create a report, you don't need, I don't need to show you. So let's add another dashboard component. This one is a record. So when you click on the component, you can see all of these things that will be familiar to many of you. So let's say that you're creating a dashboard and it's for the controller, and the controller has the approve bills function. You want to put this on their dashboard, so if there are any bills to approve, it hits the dashboard and they don't have to go hunting for them. That's a really nice thing. Or if, let's say, you have approved payments rights, you can do the same thing for that, or any of these you can put on there. Let's put in approved bills on here. And with some of these records that we're going to put on, you have to select what you want to put on there. So you could put vendor ID, bill number, the date, the total amount, maybe even the state, like what state is it in? It's got to be in like approval pending. And you can filter it so that it only shows specific vendors or a specific range of bill numbers. But if you're looking for, if all bill approvals have to go through this person, leave it wide open. I'm sure we don't have any bill approvals outstanding. So if there were bill approvals outstanding, they would show up here, not as a hyperlink. It would just be a line that had the bill that was in need of approval, and then you would just click on this magnifying glass, and it takes you right into the approved bills function. So that is really nice. I can't stress how convenient that that is. Let's duplicate this, and let's go to AP, and let's create a vendor agent report. And let's make a couple of changes down here. Let's summarize it. And I think that's all I want to change. And let's take a look at it. Okay, I'm going to pay some bills here with this company. Now, I could add this to the dashboard. I can memorize it, and then I could pull it from a memorized list, or I can add it to the dashboard. When I add it to the dashboard, look what pops up. Which dashboard do I want to add it to? Hopefully I can remember the name of my dashboard. This one. Let's just call it vendor aging. Oh, it already exists. Oh, I gave it a name that already exists. Okay, so that means that I've already memorized it. So I'm going to go back into dashboards and add a component. Let's see if I can just pull the one that I already memorized. It was called vendor aging. If I called it vendor aging version 2, it would have shown up. So let's test that. Hopefully I understand how that works. Let's see, it's going to be AP. Here we go, vendor aging report. And again, like all the other dashboards, or dashboard components, has the same things that you need to select. Now, this one is selected for auto height because it detects that this can be a dynamic report as far as number of rows that go into it. So you can actually uncheck that and make it a static amount of rows, and then you have to scroll up and down. Let's leave it at auto height, demonstrate that. So you can see how these reports, when you add them, they just kind of they just plop in wherever they want. But you can move them around. So that's pretty nice. There's really no drill down capability, in this vendor aging report, but it does, give you at a glance on your dashboard, a nice view of where you're standing. So I'm going to take a break right now and just ask how everyone's doing. I don't see any questions. I'm hopeful that you're following this pretty well, that I'm doing a decent job of explaining it to you, and also demonstrating just how easy it is to get started with this. It is kind of fun, to do. So while you're answering that CPA question, I'm going to add another component. So far we've done a chart, we've done general, performance cards, we added a record, a report. Let's do a smart link one. And let's call this one common links. What this is going to allow me to do is put on my dashboard things that I have to navigate to all the time. You could add, more than one if you wanted to. We'll just add that one for now. And if you had a URL, let's say that you have a report that's created in a different application, and you had the URL to it, you could put that link on your dashboard and select fetch, and it would go out and pull that into the dashboard. But this one, we're just going to leave as click. So that when you click on it, it will go out. It will create a window for that. There it is in the dashboard. If I click on that, I can put it way over here. Oops. That's really odd. Make it bigger. There we go. So there I'm at the GoToMeeting site. And it's in a brand new web browser window too. So that's pretty nice. I think if there's anything else that I want to show you. So let's say that I want to have this be a 3-column dashboard. This might jam us up a little bit. Let's go ahead and change that to 3 columns. So everything's like in the first 2 columns now. So let's move this over here. It's sort of like one of those puzzles, you know, that you're trying to like get the image to appear and you're sliding tiles around. So let's move this revenue chart up here. Let's move our vendor aging over here. And let's move our approved bills at the top because that's like something that you'd want to see. So can you see how easy it is to, to do that? But you see how this is all smushed, this P&L, so now you have to kind of elevate her over. So what you could do with that is go into the dashboard settings, and instead of flexible width column all, we could do left and save it. Hopefully that'll work. Yep. Now the left column expands to the widest, to accommodate the widest component in it, and everything else got smushed over to the left. Or you could have put this in the middle column and done it the other way. But my point of showing you that is it's really easy to do, and you can't really mess anything up. It's so simple. So today, we demonstrated, I walked you through how to set up a dashboard, how to create an initial dashboard, how to use the group option within a dashboard. So you could, within a group called Mainer dashboards, you could have multiple dashboards listed where each dashboard has its own unique purpose. And again, that goes back to the design phase. But even if you're just throwing stuff together, it's not that hard to get to this point. And we did all of this like in an hour. And I think I really encourage you after you leave this session to roll up your sleeves and get out there and create a couple of dashboards, or with existing dashboards, maybe add some new elements or components to it, or use a dashboard group. I know one of our clients, Chris, is on the call, and I'm sure that he's probably eager to get started on a couple of things with this as well. He's got a tiger by the tail down there, but that's about all I have for you today.
And if you have any questions, just always feel free to reach out to Mike, Wes, or I, and we can get you going. Have a great rest of your afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you all.